If there were a daily fantasy newspapering for, I don't know, my columnist, he'd be Bud Shaw.
Well, thanks, guys, and thank you especially for not introducing me as another guy who could use more muscle and less body fat. Well, a reader sent me an email the day after Josh McCown threw for 457 yards and scored 3 touchdowns in a thrilling 33-30 overtime win against a hated rival on the road. Talk about all the ingredients of a satisfying victory. There you had it. Road win, AFC North, overtime, come from behind, a great quarterback performance in a quarterback-driven league. Sunday's game had it all. But the fact that the Browns have hit full speed behind Josh McCown didn't register with this reader as a good reason to celebrate. In fact, he believes McCown is a dead end, calling it, quote, bad news that he had such a great game, end quote. Sometimes I got to admit I'm at a loss. Do lots of other Browns fans feel the same way, especially 24 hours after a season teetering on the brink was returned to its original upright position? Can a Browns season only 5 games old really already be about next year? Can the fate of 52 other players be marginalized in an act of discovery concerning Johnny Manziel's future? Please tell me no and no. Dr. Steve, not a diplomaed title as far as I know, has the audacity to suggest that winning games is more entertaining than watching Johnny Manziel make big plays and or run for his life. That's my take too. Manziel did win a game against the Titans by making a couple of big throws. The argument that the Titans' victory made Manziel the hot hand was a curious one, given that he completed just 2 of 4 passes in the second half. If nothing else, Josh McCown has defined hot over the past 10 quarters, including the second half against Oakland. You don't have to be convinced that he's the future to appreciate his good work and see it as a building block for a modestly equipped offense to generate confidence and grow. Teams can develop by winning games in a division, by establishing playmakers, by taking care of the home field advantage. Good quarterback play is instrumental in all of those happening, so it's hardly as simple as saying McCown equals the present and Manziel equals the future. McCown is a lightly used 36 years old. If he can stay healthy, and that's always been an issue with him, would having McCown for 2 seasons be the worst thing given what we've seen of him to date? The guess is McCown will come back to earth, and I get that. He always has. But this is the NFL, not a seesaw. If McCown drops off, Manziel's chances of success don't immediately become elevated as a result. As our final commenter suggests, what exactly are we campaigning for when we beat Manziel's drum? The only way the Browns could win a game Sunday was for McCown to throw 51 times. Pass first was a pregame strategy. It might not be that way every week, but it's good to know in the NFL in 2015 that your quarterback can make plays from the pocket. They don't have to be home runs, but they do have to move the chains. However long this lasts with McCown, why not enjoy it? The alternative is to be unhappy when the Browns lose and unhappy when they win with Josh McCown. Really? The reader I mentioned at the top of this commentary says he can't wait to have this conversation in another month when McCown falls flat on his face. Well, that makes one of us. Guys?
Mike Pettin during training camp, one of my favorite lines from him. He compared Josh McCown to an old car that had just been sitting in a garage.
Yeah, a little old lady uses it to drive to this grocery store. And of course, it breaks down on the way to the grocery store sometimes. But
when was the last time you guys enjoyed watching Browns football as much as you have the last couple of weeks?
It's a great call.
It's looked like something close to real football.
You know what my answer is? 2007, when the Browns were lighting up the scoreboard. Look, I get all of this defense and toughness and running game, and hey, that's how the old Browns were back in the 60s and back in the 70s. Look, this is fun, man. Scoring 30 a week, seeing Josh McCown go throw for throw against Phillip Rivers and maybe have to do the same thing this weekend against Peyton Manning. That's fun football to me, and that's the only time that the Browns in the last 15 years have been exciting, and they've won double-digit games. It's with that kind of offense. That's what you need nowadays.
Yeah, and the only bad thing about McCown coming in was, his performance hadn't been great. The guy himself, he's easy to root for.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
if he can have half a season like this,
yeah.
I don't know, maybe he ends up having a full season, not throwing for 300 yards a game, but of competent quarterback play, you want to see that out of a guy like that. He's easy to root for.
Right.
He's easy to want to have success.
Well, to Chris's point, and I try my best to never agree with Chris, I set out early in the week to look back at some of those exciting wins from last year. When Hoyer, rallies these guys against the Titans for a historic comeback. Most dominating win over Pittsburgh, probably at home in the history of the rivalry, or at least in a long, long time. And what I found backs up what Chris just said. You found Brian Hoyer not being very accurate in a lot of those games, throwing for a lot of yards in a couple of them, 290. 290. Josh McCown's just clearing his throat.
Yeah, right, exactly.
So, and listen, you don't have to think that this is going to last forever to think that this is good for this entire team, not just for answering the quarterback question.
It lets you kind of look at everything else. You're getting good quarterback play. Now you can kind of stop paying attention to that, at least for a little while, and start looking at everything else on the football team.
Think about this. We've played 5 games, right? Is the quarterback the biggest issue here in Cleveland? Nope. No. When's the last time you could say that? In fact, it's the most consistent element of this team. Like, that's unbelievable to think about that. All of the things that we thought going into this year. All right, the defense is going to be pretty good, the running game, the offensive line, blah, blah, blah. But, boy, we're going to have that lingering quarterback question. Nope, that's the only thing you have an answer to right now going into Sundays. I'm not saying long term. Going into Sundays, you have that answered.
And listen, that's what this team needs to go into Sundays with chances to win games. We got to stop with this long-term stuff.
All I know,
back burner for a while.
all I know, Chris, is Dwayne Bowe tried to tell you all this, and you wouldn't listen.
I wouldn't. I scoffed at Dwayne Bowe. I'm sorry, Dwayne. I'm still waiting for you, though, to show that you can be a playmaker and a difference maker. But you know what? 1 out of 2. We'll take that.
All right, thanks to Dr. Matthew Wilson of Stetson University for joining us. Chris Haynes and Mary Kay Cabot joined us as well. For Bud Shaw, Chris Fedor, I'm Dan Lobby. Thanks for watching.